I want to talk to you today about character. You hear a lot of the great authors and speakers lately talking about character, especially as it pertains to our New Year's resolutions. So you have, the James Clears, the Mel Robbins, I'm sure the Jay Shettys, and so on. Many people talking about, building identity and character, etc. And there's actually an interesting stat that about 80% of us that make New Year's resolutions, they actually fail this week. 80% of us fail in our New Year's resolutions this week. So it's a terrible stat. And I think character can have a lot to do with that. And here's how so for anyone that's not familiar with Modern Compass, this is a book I'm writing. It's for people that are stuck, that are feeling a bit lost or directionless. And it's personal growth framework that's really meant to help you map who you are before deciding who you become across 4 key life directions. That's self, character, trust, and relationships. And within each 4 of those directions are 4 progressive layers within each. And so really you can map kind of where your efforts have been in your life and map kind of who you want to become, and then what are the gap between. And that really helps you define where it is your effort should be. But getting back to character, I'm really excited to talk about this. I've got a newsletter going out next Friday. So every third Friday, Modern Compass newsletter hits your inbox. Subscribe. I'll drop you some links. But this next one will be a focus on character, and it'll be a lot about what we're talking here today. But character. So the way I've defined it in Modern Compass, because character, honestly, for me, has been a little bit of a intangible term that is a bit hard to grasp and really make it practical. Many people think character is values and traits, it's morals, it's virtues, it's just your grit and determination, or a blend of all of those things. And they're not all right and they're not all wrong. There's some true ways to look at that, but the way I've kind of thought about character, and I'm going into this, but the way I think about character is it's really the product you display to the world that is comprised of your actions, your effort, and your lived experiences. So since we're talking about character, I'm going to go through the 4 progressive layers I mentioned of that Modern Compass character direction. Starting with environmental. Again, these are progressive layers. So starting with environmental, this is really actions you've really inherited. What you've learned and inherited from your environment. That could be your upbringing, where you grew up, all of those things, those inherited scripts. It's what you absorbed. And oftentimes we're just repeating the patterns in what we absorbed. So that's environmental. Now go the next step to developed. Now within developed, you're really looking at what you've absorbed and inherited, those scripts and patterns and things that you've learned from, again, your upbringing, environment. And then looking at, okay, there's new things I want to learn, new things I want to do, things that don't fit me anymore, and I want to grow and do something different. So that's developing the developed character phase. You're going through changes, and you're changing your inherited patterns and scripts. One of the other things is within developed is maybe something really is powerful to you. Like one example is my mom always spoke about how time is limited. We really just don't know how much time we have. And that was something that really resonated with me very deeply at an early stage in my life. And so that was something I always really kind of doubled down on and really took to heart in almost anything I do. And so in this phase, you're also doubling down, and really that's becoming a core part of your character. And then now moving on to authentic. Within authentic, then you're really in this, there's no specific time of when you get to these different layers. Sometimes it's just how consistent you are with your actions. Again, character is actions, effort, and lived experiences. Sometimes it's just how consistent you are in your actions. If you kind of do a lot of different actions, it may take longer to get to this authentic layer within the character direction. But I'll tell you, within authentic, if you feel very connected with your identity, that's when you know you're in authentic. So this is really aligning those actions and effort, that the alignment of your actions and effort, and of course experiences, but with your internal understanding of yourself. So character is that, again, that product you display to the world That's through those actions and effort. People are seeing that. That's your product in the world. And now it's at this authentic layer, it's aligning with yourself. So you have this alignment with what you're doing in the world and what people are seeing, what you're doing and they're seeing, with your alignment of how you understand yourself. So that's a really powerful phase of character development. And then finally, driven is what I feel is, okay, you've kind of found your identity through this authentic character phase. And then a driven is really going beyond yourself. It's going beyond your success and your comfort. That's a key core way to think about it, is consistently doing actions and effort that goes beyond just your own success and comfort. And sometimes this can include parenting, sometimes it's not. But by default, parenting is not. It's got to be a bit more than that, because parenting is really, once we get there, it's really kind of a default. We really have to do. I mean, obviously there are people that, don't do it responsibly, but parenting is not just inherently, I'm just driven then. But so driven is really doing things consistently with your actions and your effort that's really beyond your own success of you or your family. So yeah, that's a bit about character and those 4 progressive layers. What time are we at here? Let's see, what are we at? We're at 8 minutes almost. So that's about the character direction. Obviously, there will be a lot more in the book, and then there's a bit more in the newsletter that's coming out next Friday. There will be kind of some prompts and kind of some reflections that you can kind of think about, like how you see yourself mapping to one of these. And really I think why this is valuable to know is know kind of where, first of all, put language to it. Obviously when I say all these things out, you're probably like, oh yeah, that happens. It happens in the wild already, since we've existed. But just having a bit more language to it, I feel, is a lot of books try to tackle language around character, and it's tricky. It's tricky. It always ends up being academic or philosophy based, or just morals based. And I feel like this is very practical, because you'll notice I didn't talk anything about values. I didn't talk anything about traits, personality, none of that stuff. Personality and traits are really, some of those things are inherited and some things you can't always change, but because we can change our actions and our effort, then we can change our character. But and then what you value is really your own internal understanding of, okay, I'm a good person and I do X. Well, if you're doing those actions, then that tells people what your values are. You don't need to tell them what your values are, or convince yourself of your values. Your actions tell people and show people in the world your values, and show yourself. Like I said, in that authentic layer, those actions and effort are really aligning to your internal understanding of yourself. So hopefully this is helpful, and I'll drop the link to subscribe to the newsletter. And this will be much more deeply covered in the book as well, once that's available, likely sometime in a year from now. It's going in. If you follow my newsletter, you'll see I kind of put updates about the book's progress, but the book is going into a pretty much finishing a first pass at it. At the entire book took me about a year, in the next couple months, and then a manuscript assessment with an editor April 1st. So yeah, a lot of progress there. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me on the YouTube channel. Subscribe. Obviously, newsletter subscribes are my all-time favorite, but you want to subscribe to the channel, YouTube channel as well, by all means. And with that, always what I say is follow your compass.